Welcome to another segment of Blueprints Unsealed. In this episode, we will dive into the segment of what may have resulted if the Capitol riot was a success and how close democracy came to being extinguished. On January 6, 2021, a large group of President Donald J. Trump supporters met in Washington, D.C. to attend a Save America rally, a theme that played to the idea that the U.S. election of 2020 between incumbent Republican Donald J. Trump and Democrat candidate Joe Biden had been stolen in favor of President-elect Joe Biden. At the time, President Trump and his team alleged voter fraud on a massive scale. However, no evidence has been produced to validate any of his claims. Trump's Save America rally coincided with the day in which the final electoral votes were finalized and officially confirmed Joe Biden as the winner of the 2020 presidential race. On that day, Trump can be heard telling his supporters to march into Capitol Hill to stop the steal. As a result, an angry mob descended to the Capitol building, forcefully breaking down all barriers, assaulting the police, and unleashing total havoc inside the Capitol building. As they desperately hunted for members of the U.S. Congress, they planned on torturing and ultimately executing. Fortunately, as a result of heroic actions by the police, the lives of many U.S. representatives were spared, although there were casualties, including a police officer. At the time of this writing, former President Donald Trump is standing in an impeachment trial by what some is calling a failed coup attempt. But what if the riot on Capitol Hill has been a success? For this, we will look back at history to see how Hitler and the Nazi Party successfully overthrew German democratic government and making Hitler the supreme ruler of Germany. In the time before Hitler became the dictator of Germany, it was a democracy. For the most part, life was peaceful, especially for the Jewish community. Many in the Jewish community were well educated and established business owners. Although anti-Semitism was a feature of German life before Hitler came into power, there were laws that protected against violence and cruelty. In fact, Hitler's Nazi Party was comprised of some of the most outspoken bigots that were removed from mainstream political parties at the time. Even though Hitler was a bigot himself, during his Nazi Party formative years, he successfully concealed his hatred in order to get support from wealthy donors. In addition, Hitler was planning something much more sinister than just taunting the Jewish people. Unfortunately, his plans unfolded when he acquired the necessary power to carry them out. Many historians agree that the pivotal moment in which the fate of Germany's political system would change came on the evening of February 27, 1933. This is the night the German parliament building in Berlin went up in flames, known as the Reichstag fire. The Nazi Party ultimately blamed a communist group for the fire, and a man by the name of Marinus van der Lubbe was convicted and sentenced to death. Historians today contend that Mr. Lubbe was really a scapegoat for the burning of the Parliament building, and that it is highly likely that the fire was staged by the Nazi Party. Hitler deemed the burning of the Reichstag as a terrorist act and immediately evoked martial law. Freedom of the press quickly became restricted to anyone who opposed the Nazi Party, thus allowing the age of propaganda to ensue. The police was given broad powers to arrest many people, and many members from the political left group were rounded up and executed. This plot that ended democracy in Germany also resulted in the Holocaust and led to the World War II. Donald J. Trump was a TV personality and real estate developer. Before entering into the political arena, Trump established his political platform focused on Make America Great Again, which many people believe is a coded term that suggests that Americans return back to days of segregation or even worse, to days of slavery. His other campaign slogan was Build a Wall, which was aimed to target specifically Mexicans and other Latin American communities. Similar to Hitler, Trump's approach to gain power was to appeal to white nationalists and supremacy groups, while simultaneously scapegoating America's problems on blacks and Hispanics. His presidency has been overshadowed mainly due to his incompetence. He continued to show lack of leadership during the nation's most trying times, whether it be a devastating hurricane that hit Puerto Rico, or tragedy that resulted from school shooting, to a pandemic that resulted in thousands of U.S. lives lost. He is incapable of true leadership. Just like Hitler, who cowardly took his life rather than be captured by the Allies, Hitler's final orders was for the total destruction of all German infrastructure, without any regards for the lives of the Germans who would remain even after his death. During Trump's final days in office, he committed his own version of the Reichstag fire. If Trump had been successful, one possibility is that all, if not most, of the members of the U.S. Congress would have been killed or incapacitated in some way, which would have effectively eliminated the legislative body of the United States government. As a consequence, the only body that would have the ability to effectively check the powers of the president simply could not. This would allow the president free range to invoke martial law and possibly invalidate the official election results. Again, one of the powers that the legislative bodies possess is the power to impeach a president. But if those members are no longer capable to perform their duties, then how would the president's powers be checked? This is known as a constitutional crisis, and there is no clear-cut solution to this problem. Perhaps at this point, you may see efforts from the state's governing bodies, such as governors and state lawmakers, proclaim sovereignty and recede to the union. But again, who knows? To wrap up, it's important to understand that democracy is a form of government that's still in its infancy compared to other forms of government, such as monarchs, dictatorships, totalitarianisms, and other types of supreme ruling. As a consequence, the idea of democracy is very vulnerable, and if citizens are not active enough and standing up for what is right, these are all prime conditions of how democracy can die. Before Hitler, the population of Germany was among the world's most educated population, and freedom was a right guaranteed to every citizen no matter what your origins. But Hitler, who was aided by his right-wing extremists, used his cunningness to get noticed by the people. Then he slowly won over their minds and hearts. By the time people began to wake up, it was too late. The United States began as an experiment. The notion of a nation that holds as a core tenet of its constitution that the transfer of power after an election is done in a peaceful, respectful, and formal manner, by all accounts should have failed, but here it stands. Not all of American history was great, but the nation learned from its mistakes and thrives to make it better for all people, regardless of race, color, or creed. It speaks to the resilient nature of the nation and the hope that tomorrow will be better than today. Thank you for watching my channel. Please like and subscribe.